Hello, this is Randy with Excel for Business. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to cover what is labor burden. Well, I didn't understand that back in 2001. I didn't know what labor burden was or how to calculate labor costs, and well, that actually nearly cost me my business. I almost went out of business because I was actually charging less than my labor costs were. Therefore, today I've created the labor burden calculator, and I wanted to walk you through that today to show you all of the great features and benefits and how it could help you. So let's go ahead and over it. When you do open it up and after registering it, you're going to come to this screen, which is the demo and open screen. It'll allow you to give you a tour. For our purposes, we're not going to go through the tour today, so we'll go ahead and click no thanks. And that's going to bring us to the screen of the main screen. And basically, the purpose of this is to put in your costs quickly and easily, and then it will throw out an exact labor cost. So that's what we're going to go over today, and that's what's so important for business owners to understand their actual labor costs, which is critical to their operations and generating the profit percentage and profit amounts according to their ideal profits. Okay, basically what we have here is the main screen here that I'm going to go over with you quickly, and I'll go ahead and shrink that down a little bit so you can see it. And what we have here at the top is the company information. And basically, just one or a few times, you're going to edit the company information here up at the top. And then once it's done, you can just hide it. And then if you want to see it again, you can just show it. And basically, you will enter your company paid employer taxes. These are the taxes that as an employer you owe the government. And you'll put in your FICA and your local, state, and if any city taxes here. Next up, for new employees, it's possible that for each new employee you may have a benefit. So you'd put in the defaults here. So any benefit that you want to give each new employee, you would put it here. So if we have a health insurance monthly or annual, you can put it in here, and it will automatically calculate the totals here automatically. So that way, each new employee will automatically have these default benefits set. So that makes it really easy to quickly create new employees. Next up, we have miscellaneous employer costs and new employee default settings, such as the hours per week. If we have a default employee type, if we have any employee types, and we'll go ahead and show you that a little bit later on. And if there's whether they're hourly, salary. So this helps set default employees so that when you're creating new employees, they can be done in just seconds. We have workers' compensation, 401k, so you can fill them in as you needed. So why don't we go ahead and over to the admin screen, and I'll show you. So we'll set up an employee type. Right now we don't have any set up. So here we have the employee types. This is on the admin screen. So we'll go ahead and set up a field service. And we'll set a default pay type as hourly. And we'll go ahead and set a workers' compensation rate. Let's just say it's $9.50. That would be $9.50 for every $100 of labor, or 9.5%. And our modifier, you'll have to check your modifier on your default workers' compensation form to see what your form is. If there's any 401k additions or liability insurance for this specific employee type, you can set that here. If you have a billing or charge rate, let's say we're going to be charging $60 an hour for regular and $90 for overtime, so we can set that up here. And then when we go back to the labor burden calculator main section and we add a new employee, let's just call it Lisa Lopez, and we can easily add. So once we do select that employee type, field service, all of the information will come in, basically the workers' compensation rate, the employee benefits, and we can go ahead and set an hourly rate here of, let's say, $25. Okay, now that we've go ahead and set the employee type, we can see, and we set an hourly rate here, and we can see that the workers' compensation rates have already carried over from either the employee type or our company defaults. We also have our employee benefits that have automatically been carried over from the company defaults above. So that makes it extremely easy to create new employees very quickly. We can go ahead and add any vacation times that are not worked but paid. This is critical because it is an expense when we pay for time that's not actually worked, so that's important. And also we should not forget about non-productive time. Even just a few minutes a day can add up tremendously. So we want to make sure that we've included all the non-productive time within a single year. So we'll go ahead and put in 50 hours for now, and we'll see that affects it a lot. And what we have here, if we scroll on over to the right, automatically our hourly cost is calculated here at $36.33, and because we have not added any overhead yet, our total hourly cost with overhead is the same. A little bit later on we'll go over adding an overhead and we'll see how that affects our hourly rate. Employee paid taxes are automatically added in. However, for certain employees, if they are not taxable, we just simply uncheck this and all of the taxes disappear. So that's very quick and easy. I'll scroll over so you can see that. And so that's very easy to make an employee taxable or non-taxable. We can go ahead and add in a little additional information within the employee paid benefits, and we can quickly see how that affects our hourly cost. So it's very clear, very quick and simple to see. Those changes are pretty much automatic. And once we've entered the values that we want for the employee, saving that employee is simple. Just click the save button. It'll save automatically. Now, when we want to access that employee or any employee, all we have to do is select that employee from the drop-down list, and their data will fill above. Once we've entered the company information, we may not need to see that, so we can just hide that for a while, and that clears up the screen. So now all we're looking at is the employee detail section. Selecting any employee is quick and easy. Well, if we need to make a change, all we would need to do is select that employee, make the change, and the updates are saved automatically. So if we click back, we can see that those updates are saved. So saving employees, adding employees is extremely simple, quick, and painless, which is the way I wanted to create it. Now we're going to go over employee company overhead and how that affects employees, which is a critical part to determining your total hourly cost for each employee, as overhead needs to be spread across all of your working employees. So within the admin screen, we'll go over here and we see we have a company overhead item. So company overhead item, in case you don't know, are expenses that cannot be attached to any specific customer or specific jobs, such as lease, utilities, sometimes office labor. So we'll go ahead and add in a few of those now. So let's say you have a monthly lease, and we'll go ahead and select monthly, and let's say your lease is $2,000 a month. That's $24,000, and as you can see down way below, it's automatically added up. And another type of overhead expense might be utilities. So we'll go ahead and add that in monthly as well. So we can put that in, and that will be put in $250. And so as well, we can also put in a office labor. So we'll go ahead and take care of that. And we'll put that in as a frequency also monthly for ease of $2,500. Okay, so now we've got a list of company overhead items, and that's going to total $57,000. So we'll go ahead and click back to the labor burden calculator sheet so we can see how that affects the labor. And scroll over, we can see how this has affected our total hourly cost, which includes overhead. So since we only have 2 employees listed, the cost is quite high. As we add employees, this cost gets distributed. So we can see our cost without overhead is $32.62, while our cost including overhead is $50.33. Because we have just 2 employees, this entire overhead must be distributed to these employees, and not necessarily equally. It's based on their hours actually worked per year. So it's calculated properly based on the hours. So if you have 1 part-time and you have 1 full-time employee, the overhead will be distributed accordingly to the hours actually worked, which is very important. And if we go ahead and put in how much we're charging for this employee, let's say we're charging $75, automatically our calculated hourly profit for both with and without overhead is calculated, and we can do an overtime as well if we like. And this really helps us know our profit percentages for both regular and overhead, which is critical to running a business. We also have our profit percentages, so this is an important part as well, and it's automatically calculated too, so that can be quite helpful when you're running a business to know these figures, and having to do it manually is quite a headache, as I did in the past. All right. While knowing our costs are critically important to running a business, what is really important to us to know is if those costs are within our ideal or minimum profit margins. We have to know if we're on target for those profits. So what I've done is I've developed the ability for you to put in those targets and then to see if the costs are within those. So we'll go ahead and head back to the admin screen now. And here on the right side, you can see our estimated annual sales and profit markup section here. So we're going to go ahead and put in some information. We have a gross sales, so we'll go ahead and put in 500,000 for that. And we have our estimated job and material cost, so you can estimate that. We'll go ahead and put in 150,000. And then next up, what we want is we want the ability to put in a minimum annual profit amount. Now this is what our minimum expected or annual amount that we want to make, and this is the very minimum. So we'll go ahead, for our purpose, we'll put in 70,000. And then next up, what we want is our ideal annual profit amount, and this is what our goals are we're going to set for the year. So we'll go ahead and put in 85,000 of that. And what that's going to do is give us some minimum and ideal profit margins for both excluding overhead and including overhead. Both are important, especially including overhead, because we must always factor in that cost. Okay, so now when we go back to our labor burden calculator sheet, we can see a few changes here. And here we can see some color coding here. And now we see that our calculated hourly profit, excluding overhead, is in green, while our total calculated hourly profit, including overhead, is in yellow. And the reason it's in yellow is because it's 32.9%, which is actually under our ideal profit margin. As you can remember, if we head back to the admin screen, our ideal profit margin with overhead is 41%. So anything under that is going to appear in green. Anything under that 31% is going to be in red. So what this does is it's going to quickly tell us if the changes that we make, if the benefits that we add, and if the hourly rates are going to be affect you in a way. So here we can see this now. Now why don't we go ahead and add a benefit in here? So let's go ahead and add in a health insurance. So we'll go ahead and add monthly health insurance. And just by adding our 250 in monthly health insurance, we see that the calculated hourly profit now is in red because it is actually lower than our 31% minimum profit margin. So right away, we're going to know whether the benefits, whether the rates, or the vacation that we're paying our employees automatically exceed or are below our profit margins. So this is a really helpful feature that's going to help us moving forward for each and every employee. Okay, I've just gone ahead and added a few more employees so I can show you the next screen. And now we've got 4 employees listed. And I wanted to show you the scenario screen, which is a really powerful feature that allows you to create multiple scenarios of shifts, jobs, timeframes. And that's over here. And basically what we have here, we have up to 6 scenarios that you can create as you wish. And what this does is that it's for a job. If you're on a job and you want to assign employees to a job, or you have a specific shift, or maybe you're running a restaurant and you want to see which employees affect which times and costs. So we'll go ahead and add a few employees in here. We'll go ahead and put 10 hours for this, and we'll go ahead and add Davis 20 hours, and we can even add a name to the scenario. So let's just call this Test 1. This could be for a job name, a shift name. You can pretty much give it any name you want. And then we're going to go ahead and put a specific sales price if it's for a job, or you can put in gross income for a specific time frame if you want. Pretty much any type of income you can put here. And we will go ahead and put in, let's say, $4,000. And let's say we have a material cost of $500. You can leave this blank if you don't have any material cost. So what this is going to do is it automatically gives us those color codings, the green, red, and yellow color codings based, again, on our profit margins that we set in the admin screen. So not only are we able to add in specific costs, specific employees, we're able to see whether they meet our profit margins. And so as we add employees and as we add hours, that's going to change. And what this does is, and I've made it really easy, if you want to just add in employees and you want to create the hours, you can just click the button and copy down the hours. And as you can see, this, as we add hours, it lowers our profit margin, and now we're in the red. We're at 29%, which is less than our ideal profit margin, so it's in red. And one thing you might want to do is you might want to play with different combinations of employees and hours. And so I've made it really easy for you to do that. So if you have one specific scenario that you're testing on and you want to make a variation on that, all you do is click the copy button, and that's going to copy over everything you did on the original scenario. So you can go ahead and make changes. Maybe we want to put this at 18 and this at 22 and see how that affects it. So maybe we can make different changes and then also give it a name as well. So this allows us to really use the costs. Very powerful. We can also use it with overtime hours too. And one very important thing is, as we know, we have different profits based on whether we're including or we're excluding overhead. I always like to include overhead, but there may be a time where you want to exclude it. And all we have to do is click this one button here, and once we exclude the overhead, you can see now all of our totals are based, including our regular hour costs or overtime costs, are all based on excluding the overhead. So just by clicking that button, it's going to change everything on the scenario screen. And you can create up to 6 scenarios. If you want to clear out a scenario, you just click this little clear, and we'll go ahead and clear out a scenario. You also have the ability to export all the scenarios to another workbook. You may want to save it. You may want to create it, use it in different applications, or print it out, or whatever you like. You can just click the export button, and we can export all the scenarios that you've created so they never get lost, and you always have a record of the scenarios that you've created. So that's a really powerful feature. The last of which is the dashboard feature. I wanted to show you that. And basically this is going to give us an overview of all of our employees, the associated costs, the profits generated, and it's based on per hourly or per employee we have profits. So that's a really helpful dashboard. And as we add employees, these graphs will get smaller, and you can really compare and contrast the different employees and their costs. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me here. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below, or email me, or contact me in any way. I would love to hear your feedback and hear from you. Thanks very much.